Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's weather forecast, we'll be talking about record warm temperatures not only for this week, but as we go into early next week as well as a significant storm system that will traverse the country from west to east through next week, bringing chances for heavy snow, heavy rain and flooding, and also severe weather to the country. And we'll also outlook the first half of March and what's to come in the long range forecast in today's weather forecast. So thank you guys so much for joining me here this Thursday morning. And if you are new to the channel and you like detailed weather breakdowns across North America throughout 2024, this is the channel for you. So make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. And I would love to hit 100,000 subscribers by the springtime, so you can help me get there simply by subscribing to the channel down below, also pressing the like button down below. It helps out more than you know. So let's take you outdoors here this morning and look at our low temperatures as you are waking up for work, school, or just running any errands out there. Notice we have a very big plume of above normal temperatures here across the mid-south, down into the deep south this morning. Temperatures there are well into the 50s and low 60s here. We're waking up at 62 in Dallas-Fort Worth, 58 in Little Rock, and 55 in the St. Louis region here. Further north, it's a little cooler across the northern plains, the upper Midwest, or the Northeast this morning. Temperatures there are into the 20s. As we go into the afternoon, here are your expected highs, and you can see across the deep south, those temperatures into the 60s to start off the morning will rise well into the 70s, if not into the 80s across this region. A couple 90s may be possible for the Rio Grande Valley down here into southern Texas this afternoon. Otherwise, further north, the northern plains, the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region, and the Northeast and New England will be into the 40s and the 50s for the afternoon, still above normal for this time of year as we go into the afternoon hours. Here are your current weather conditions across the lower 48 here into the United States. You can see some drizzle and some showers across the Ohio Valley there. Maybe a little bit of light snow up there into southeastern Canada, but that really isn't putting down that much snow this morning. So taking you through the next couple of days of precipitation, you can see some scattered showers, some rumbles of thunder will be possible here with this rainfall across Ohio, Indiana, western and central Kentucky, moving into Pennsylvania here, West Virginia, western New York State, seeing that through today. As we go into tonight, that will spread across the Northeast. There could be some marginally cold temperatures up here, supportive of some frozen precipitation. That could be some freezing drizzle, some sleet, or some very wet snowflakes up here into interior New England from Maine, back through Vermont, New Hampshire, and eastern New York. Going through tonight, all liquid precipitation further to the south and west across the mid-Atlantic, getting down through the Tennessee Valley there, even some rumbles of thunder through portions of Nashville or Knoxville, Tennessee, going through tonight. Then as we go into Friday, that will kick off the East Coast. We may have some lingering rain or snow showers across Maine or down here toward Nantucket, but other than that, we're really not seeing anything as we go into Friday for the remainder of the country. Here is the rainfall amounts, additional rainfall amounts here in inches now through your Friday night time frame. And you can see across the Ohio Valley, getting into parts of the mid-Atlantic here in the Tennessee Valley, a decent helping of rain, some healthy totals here, over a half an inch. Some areas near like the Pittsburgh region here could get into portions of an inch to an inch and a half of rain as we go in toward the Friday night time frame. This could be enough rainfall, as it does fall in a short amount of time, to produce some isolated flash flooding here, with that marginal risk of flash flooding through the next 24 hours there across southern Indiana, Ohio, southwestern Pennsylvania, much of West Virginia and Kentucky, and southeastern Illinois during that time frame. Now, going into this weekend, we're going to see a cold pocket aloft of colder air moving from southeastern Canada and dropping south through the eastern seaboard. This will make our temperatures go below normal for the weekend, but we'll see a rebound in our temperatures across the middle of the country, the heartland here, from the Great Plains up into the upper Midwest and southern Canada this weekend. So let's preview those temperatures that you can expect out there. Here are your low temperatures for your Saturday morning, and notice it's much colder up here into southeastern Canada, into Ontario and Quebec. A lot of these areas well below zero with your lows Saturday morning. Into the lower 48 we go here, and you can see across the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and Northeast United States, temperatures here will be averaging the teens to 20s for your Saturday morning. And as you can imagine, just a little light breeze out there could make those wind chill values go down near zero in some of these areas. Also fairly chilly to the south. Across the Gulf Coast states, into the 40s for your Saturday morning. Will warm up a little bit across the Great Plains with that return flow. We could have 50s all the way up into the Dakotas. But that cold pocket aloft across the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and really the eastern seaboard will hold our temperatures down below freezing from Michigan down through Ohio there into Indiana, through portions of New York State, up there in Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, even into Maine. A lot of those areas staying under the freezing mark most likely for your Saturday afternoon. Waking up Sunday morning, the same deal here, a little bit more cold air moving down toward places like Atlanta, down to 30 degrees on your Sunday morning, 30 there in Columbia, South Carolina, and 29 in Raleigh, North Carolina on your Sunday morning. We will rebound, though, into the 40s across those areas, 54 even into Atlanta, but look across the southern plains. There's the rebound, temperatures back into the 70s for your Sunday afternoon. Now let's walk you through the precipitation chances through the weekend, and fairly quiet weekend overall with any precipitation out there outside of a few flurries or areas of drizzle. We're really just not seeing any precipitation across much of the lower 48 on Saturday or really into Sunday. The active storm track will either be in southern Canada or just too far south here down toward Mexico to really reach the United States for the weekend. Now going into next week, this is Monday, the February 26th time frame through Friday, the March 1st time frame, and you can see east of the Rockies, we're going to talk about some record warm temperatures, and this could be across portions of the Great Plains, up into the Midwest, the upper Midwest, getting into the Great Lakes here, the Northeast, Southeastern Canada is definitely seeing all these areas in play for above normal and even record warm temperatures. Then you look to the west. We have a trough coming in, and that is going to make our temperatures drop below normal here from what we see normally during that next week time frame across the West Coast. Places there like California, Washington State, Oregon, Idaho, Nevada, Utah, a lot of those areas dropping below normal. So early next week, here's the preview to those temperatures, and you can see the 50-degree line going all the way up into southern Canada, the 60s up here into Nebraska, 63 in Des Moines, Iowa early next week, and into the 80s again into Texas. By the middle of next week, look at this powerful storm system and cold front moving through. Look at the temperature gradient. We're up to near 60 by the middle of next week. By Wednesday in Chicago, a few hours west in Des Moines, Iowa, we're at 17. So this is definitely a shock to the system, a very potent cold front. And look at the eastern seaboard. A lot of these areas, 50s, 60s, and 70s by the middle of next week. And then later next week, that cold front will exit the eastern United States, giving us another cold pocket aloft up here across the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley in the Northeast, temperatures below freezing there later in the week, and then another rebound in our temperatures in the Great Plains as we reset the atmosphere later next week. So let's talk about our next significant storm system here on the agenda as we go into next week. And you can see early next week, there's that ridge of high pressure across the eastern 2/3 of the country. The western third is dealing with below normal temperatures with this trough, and this trough is eventually going to eject across the Corn Belt and into the upper Midwest by the middle of next week. That will send our temperatures tumbling across the Midwest, the upper Midwest, and the northern plains underneath of that. And then as we go into later next week, we're going to see that move across the Northeast, and this will bring some cooler temperatures there. And then notice the ridge. A stronger ridge develops later next week with a rebound in our temperatures across the middle of the country. So let's walk you through day by day during this 5-day work week here next week. Here is Monday the 26th. You got that snow track to the north, southern Canada for Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, seeing a nice stripe of snowfall on Monday. Very heavy snows for the West Coast and the Pacific Northwest in general. More heavy rain for California that doesn't seem to get a break from the rainfall anytime soon. Then as we go into Tuesday on the 27th, that storm system will make its way into the Front Range, into the Rockies here. We could have some heavier snow from the western Dakotas, Wyoming, down into Colorado and Utah. Heavier rains further south, places like Phoenix down there in Arizona, even the Albuquerque region into New Mexico. Then as we go into Wednesday, very volatile setup here. We have a very strong low pressure system, likely under 990 millibars, somewhere across the Midwest or the Great Lakes. This will send a potent cold front through. Ahead of the cold front, we're watching for heavy rainfall, thunderstorms, and severe weather associated with that. And then behind it, some very cold air coming in with the cold air advection, some nice snowfall potential on the backside here across Wisconsin, portions of Minnesota into Iowa, northern Missouri, and into northeastern Kansas on Wednesday. And then that will make its way into southeastern Canada with that snow line pushing into those areas, into Ontario and Quebec on Thursday. And then finally by Friday, we start to quiet down as we start to reset the atmosphere with that ridge and the warmth coming back by then. So let's look here at our surface-based CAPE. This is convective available potential energy here. This is essentially storm fuel. So wherever you see the higher values, the brighter colors, the more storm fuel you have. And that makes its way up into the middle and the upper Mississippi Valley as we go into Tuesday. And then as we go into Wednesday, still seeing some storm fuel from the Great Lakes region down through the Ohio and Tennessee River Valley and into the Dixie Alley region on Wednesday. So let's time this out for you. Here's what we could see on the thunderstorm front as we go into next week. So here's Tuesday, some isolated to widely scattered strong to severe storms may be possible. These during the day would likely pose a risk for some hail. Now as we go into Tuesday night, the main parent low will move into the upper Midwest. All the dynamics will be in play here. If you can imagine a very strong, powerful jet stream here over the top here, dew points rising, instability rising, our temperatures will be rising. And when you have a strong cold front moving through this environment, this could lead to some line segments and potentially some embedded supercells from the southwestern lakes through portions of the Illinois Valley, down through the mid-Missouri Valley, and into the southern plains. And one or two of these storms could be significant enough to produce some tornadoes overnight on Tuesday. And then as we go into Wednesday, this will start to wind down a little bit, but still seeing some severe weather potential for the Illinois Valley into Indiana and Michigan as we go into Wednesday. So as of now, this is how I see the severe weather potential unfolding early next week. So this is Tuesday the 27th into Wednesday the 28th of February. If you are in this yellow outlined area, it is a 0 to a 24% chance, essentially a lower chance of severe weather, but a chance nonetheless. And then if you're in this orange shaded color, a 25 to a 49% chance of severe weather, essentially an elevated chance of severe weather. And that covers more of west central Illinois, southeastern Iowa, much of Missouri here, including the Ozarks, down into eastern portions of Kansas, northeastern Oklahoma, and northern and northwestern Arkansas during that period. And all modes of severe weather will be in play, including damaging winds and large hail being the primary hazards, followed by isolated tornadoes being the secondary hazard. So make sure you know where to go during a tornado here. Just follow the guidelines on this display and you can see exactly where to go when a tornado does strike, and make sure to prepare for these tornado events as we are entering into our severe weather season very shortly here. And even in February, you can see some dangerous severe weather. So make sure to look into that as we go closer toward that event. So as we look through the precipitation amounts with this system next week, it will be putting down some more healthy totals on the rainfall front across portions of the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, and back through the Ohio Valley. A few areas, a couple inches of rain there. The West Coast getting a lot of soaking rain here from Seattle down toward the Portland and Eugene, the Medford, Oregon region, and towards Sacramento here into California. Very heavy rain, a few inches of rain there next week. Looking at snowfall prospects, it's going to be hard to come by. We have a lot of record warmth across the country. Probably not going to be seeing a lot of snow across the east, but there could be a little stripe of some snowfall across the upper Midwest. If this accumulates, it will most likely be on grassy surfaces because After a period of record warm temperatures, if you can imagine, it will take a lot of heavy snowfall rates to overcome those warm pavement temperatures. So a lot of the snow you see up here in like Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, back into Nebraska, and northern Kansas will likely be on grassy surfaces, if not just completely melting as it reaches the ground after this warm period. But looking out west here, look at this. We got some decent snows here for the Cascades out here across portions of Washington State and Oregon. A few feet of snowfall here. Some areas over 5 feet of snow just through next week. The Sierra's getting a foot or two of snow here. And look at the Rockies here from Idaho, western Montana, back here through Wyoming and Utah and western Colorado. A lot of that here falling through next week, a couple feet there. Northern Arizona, northern New Mexico, the Flagstaff region just north and west of Albuquerque, seeing a few inches of snow down there as we go into next week as well. The middle of the country, we could have a solid stripe of 1 inch to 2, maybe 3 inches of snow at most across this region from Wisconsin back through the Hawkeye state of Iowa here in towards portions of Nebraska and Kansas. This could be more on just grassy surfaces after a record warmth, as we just mentioned. And then out east, we're just seeing too much warm temperatures. This is all mainly going to be liquid precipitation, but I suppose into interior New England or southeastern Canada, there could be some instances of a dusting up to 1/2 inch of snowfall. Now as we enter into early March, this is the first week in March here from March 1st rather into the March 8th time frame, we reload the atmosphere. As you imagine, we have that ridge building out across the middle of the country. That ridge will translate eastward into the first week in March, and then we'll have another trough moving into the western third of the country across the west coast into the Rockies. That too will eventually eject into the country, and you can see we have a low pressure signal up here across the northern U.S. Now, whether that's back here into the Plain States or into the Midwest or in southeastern Canada, the placement of this is uncertain. But the likelihood of a low pressure system further north is there as we go into the first week in March. And look at this pattern. We have more above normal temperatures, possibly some records being set across the east. And then we have below normal temperatures out west here across the Rockies and the Intermountain West and the West Coast in general during that first week in March. And here's your rainfall or snowfall prospects at that. You can see east of the Great Plains, mainly across the Mississippi Valley here into the eastern seaboard and on up into southeastern Canada, well above normal precipitation here. And a lot of this being favored toward Dixie Alley as we go into that time frame. And then as we go into the second week in March, the 8th through the 15th, you can see a different look here. This tries to have more of a blocking mechanism again, just like we saw earlier on in February or later into January even. We have more of that high pressure blocking up here into eastern Canada or Greenland that will force our storm track and our low pressure systems much further south. Still a very active southern stream jet down here. That could mean business across the southern U.S. in the form of some stronger lows. Across the eastern U.S., you got high pressure working in out west, and you can see a lot more of this difference in our temperatures here. Look at the different look here. You can see warmer to the north, much like we see in El Nino, and then across the south and the west, we see below normal temperatures into the second week in March. And this also favors, though, some above normal precip, again, across those same areas east of the Great Plains, so the Mississippi Valley on east into the eastern seaboard. This may not all be rainfall, so we'll keep an eye on this as we go into that time frame. But overall, here are my thoughts on early March from March 1st through March 15th, essentially the first half of March. For severe weather chances. So you have a low potential in the yellow. This could include as far north as the Midwest, the upper Midwest, or the central Great Lakes regions. And then into the orange, you have an elevated chance of severe weather. This could be as far north as Missouri, southern and central Illinois, getting into southern Indiana and Kentucky here, or as far south again through Dixie Alley. We will keep an eye on this as we do get closer to that time frame. If you do like detailed weather breakdowns across North America throughout 2024, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below so you are updated every single day on accurate weather forecasts on this channel. Also, make sure to press the like button down below. It helps out more than you know, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Thursday out there.